Welcome to the Voter Interest Project's candidate interviews for 2023. I'm Alan McPheeters, the Executive Director of the Voter Interest Project. Our mission is to provide voters with the information they need to make informed decisions about government, candidates, and ballot measures. Our focus is local. We cover Island County, its cities and towns and various special districts, as well as the representatives from the 10th Legislative District. The 2023 elections are local and nonpartisan. We are covering 44 elective offices on this year's ballot, including mayors, city councilors, school board directors, and commissioners for hospital, port, fire, parks, and cemetery districts. 67 candidates filed for these offices during filing week in May, and we've invited all of them to do interviews for you. We also have extensive coverage of these elections and the actions of these government agencies on our website, voterinterests.com. The following interview is with Brit Kraner, who was recently appointed to fill a vacancy on the Board of Commissioners at the North Whidbey Pool Park and Recreation District and is running unopposed to retain her seat. We provided a list of potential questions to the candidate in advance of the interview. 1. And I lost my slide with the notes. This is terrible. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Voter Interest Project. It is Monday, July 31st, 2023. And we are here with Brit Kraner, who was recently appointed to fill a vacancy on the Board of Commissioners at the North Whidbey Pool Park and Recreation District, and she's running unopposed to retain her seat. And we provided a list of questions, but I don't think it got through, so this is going to be an interesting interview.
Off the cuff, it's fine. Authentic.
Yeah. So welcome to the Voter Interest Project.
Thank you.
Now, where are you today? Are you at home? Are you in an office? Where are you at?
I am at my home.
Perfect. And you live here in Oak Harbor.
I do. I live here in Oak Harbor next to Fort Nugent Park. So, yeah, South Oak Harbor.
Good.
It's a really good area. I like it around here.
Terrific. Let's start a little sort of quick answer, biographical information about you, just to kind of set the table for everybody. Are you married or single?
I recently divorced.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have children?
Okay. Nope.
Okay. Were you raised here on Whidbey, or did you move here? How'd you get here?
So it's really odd. I grew up in Ohio. I was born in Alabama, grew up in Ohio. When I graduated high school, I went to college in Kentucky. My family moved to Georgia. My whole family's in Georgia now. I went to college in Georgia at Augusta University. And when I went to Augusta, I think my mom kind of threw a dart at a map and landed on Anacortes. So she moved here. We know no one from here. So she moved here, and in my senior year, I came out and I visited, and I absolutely fell in love with the area. So after I graduated, I came back, and I've been here since 2015. I got here St. Patty's Day 2015.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, I think I know the answer to this, but we'll ask anyway. Did you serve in the military?
I did not. I married in, and then, but yeah, that was my only affiliation with the military.
Fair enough. What is your professional background? What do you do for a living, and what are the big challenges that you face in your day job?
Oh man. So when I was in college, I have a very interesting background. I've always been into technology. I worked as a student assistant through my college years, and my original major was management of information systems.
Okay.
Throughout my program, I found a love for politics, and I actually switched my major to political science with I was double majoring political science and MIS.
Okay.
There was a merge that happened at my university during my tenure there, which it caused my 4-year MIS degree to become a 6-year bachelor's degree. And I was like, no, we're not doing that then. So I found really weird talent in statistics. So that is my secondary. So political science and statistics, and I was going to be a professor. I was going to go through a PhD program. And then I took over teaching as an undergrad for our Model UN program. Um, it taught me that I did not want to teach. That was not a passion that I had.
Okay, very good.
It takes a lot of brain power to come up with new and unique ideas to get published. And I was like, I don't know if I have that in me for the rest of my life. And I didn't really have a passion for that. I actually had more of a passion in the activity.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that's how that came about. Political science and statistics. And everybody asked, what are you going to do with that? I have no idea. I'll figure it out as I go. I kind of did that thing. And then I started working for Whidbey Health in admitting back in 2016.
Oh, okay.
And lo and behold, several years later, they had an IT business analyst position come available. And that is what I currently do. Somehow it all came together. My dream job and my dream location. I have the best team. I can't even say how happy I am professionally. So
Oh,
that's what I do currently. Yeah.
oh, that's
And
terrific.
yeah, like professional happiness is really hard to come by.
Yes.
So I really do take advantage of it. I love everything about the team that I work with. It's a great one.
Okay, so now this is where the interview takes a left turn. If you were going to run for politics, why not run for a hospital commissioner position instead of the pool district?
Well, that's a good question. But the honest answer is that I do have my dream career as far as monetary.
Mhm.
And being a hospital commissioner, that would be a conflict of interest.
Ah, of course, that makes sense. Very good.
Yeah. So I steer away from the hospital commission because I get a little fiery and I
Well,
think it's best that I just stay away
that makes sense. It's funny
and
because
focus on
I have an interview
time.
lined up over the next 2 nights with hospital commissioner candidates. So,
Oh,
um,
really? That's
um,
awesome.
um, okay, so you had run, we were talking about this before we started recording. You had run for this for a different seat, same district 2 years ago.
Mhm.
That
Correct.
run wasn't successful, but clearly you are committed to the North Whidbey Pool Park and Recreation District. Why?
Um, short answer, I'm a triathlete.
Ah,
Um, so that is one of my passions. Having that pool open. I was here when the pool closed and I saw the impact on the community and yeah, and then I got into triathlons and I was like, this is a seat that fulfills me. This is something that fulfills another passion that I have. Um, I think it worked out beautifully, to be honest with you, because I ran against Steve McCaslin,
mhm.
and he is now the chair of the commission or the board, and um, I couldn't ask for better. They have all been phenomenal to me, and I knew then like there was no way I was going to beat a former executive director of the pool.
Yeah,
Um, but I think it really has worked out. There's another unopposed candidate who's just wonderful, and the board has just been incredible to me. So I think things just work themselves out, and we've ended up in a really great spot.
very good. Very good. I had an experience a few years back where I ended up running for a legislative seat, a seat in the state house. I learned so much about the house losing that race. I can imagine
Mhm.
you probably had a similar experience.
I did. I did. It was really a weird time. You know, at the time I was married and I decided my way of handling deployment was to run for election and you probably could have thought that after. But
Right.
yeah, and it is a learning process. A very valuable learning process and I've learned more about the climate since then and Oak Harbor's a very small place. So it's been good to be more involved, but not quite as in an official capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. What you've been on the board for about a month. Last Tuesday, you had your first board meeting after your appointment.
Yeah.
What you've been involved with the district for a while, but what have you learned in this month that you didn't know before? What has there anything surprised you that you didn't know about how things worked over at the district?
You know, I'm still learning those things. I don't think anything has really been um very shocking. Everything's been pretty standard. Um, there has been a lot of transparency given to me from the board and from the executive director. The executive director has been my absolute hero. Anytime I have a question, she's just right there. So anytime I have questions, I don't have it for very long. So I don't feel an overwhelming sense of being lost or like I'm swimming in something that I don't really know. No, so far nothing super nothing really shocking.
Okay, well, good.
I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop because there's always something in the background.
Yes, there always is. Well, let's take it. Let's take another whack at it then. So, a lot of people probably aren't that familiar with the district. You know, it doesn't come up in the Whidbey News Times very often. Since the whole pool closure and that levy and everything. So you operate the I can never say that name, John Van der Zuyk Memorial Pool.
Correct.
You have the Clover Park dog
Clover Valley.
Clover Valley. Thank you. Are there other facilities that the district operates? Or is it just those two?
It is just those two. Clover Valley is actually a dog park and um softball fields.
Okay. Oh, sure.
So there's the softball fields are ours as well. The pool is ours. The pool is definitely our baby. It is one of the bigger. It's our highlight. Um, I'm trying. What I really want to focus on is bringing in more programming. And because the truth of the matter is that until this board was brought to me as a friend of mine approached me and was like, "Hey, you should run for this." I had no idea that the pool was attached to this specific district, and I imagine that a lot of the voters don't either.
Yes.
So I think that maybe a lot of times the voters don't necessarily know exactly what they're voting on, and I think that we need to, we definitely have some growth that we, not growth that we need to do, but it's an area that we should explore, getting more involved in our patrons and letting them know where we stand. And there should be more blasted. I'm a writer. I'll write all about it. But yeah, I think that, just kind of getting the familiarity out there and, because when people go to Clover Valley, I don't think a lot of people necessarily know that that's also North Whidbey Pool Park and Recreation. I also don't think that a lot of the voters are aware that there's also an Oak Harbor Parks and Recreation District.
Just recently.
So
that department was formed just recently. They had parts, but they hadn't had it as a separate department. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of news.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I never saw anything about it. So that was okay. Going back to the surprise thing, I think that one kind of threw me a little bit, but that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing that people are trying to bring things to the community.
sure.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of research, just a little bit, before we set up this interview, and I saw on your Facebook page for your campaign, you had from a couple of years ago where you'd done Q&A with Whidbey Weekly, and you had a couple things that you wanted to accomplish back then. When you refresh your memory, see if those are still true, and you can tell us a little more about that. So you had said one of your big concerns was that there's a gap between the military and the civilian populations in Oak Harbor. Do you think that's still an issue, and how do you think that the district can address that?
I think it's a huge issue, not necessarily just for the district, for anything economical that's going on Whidbey. The military community is huge, but so is the non-military community. And I think we kind of get into our little bubbles, and that's something that I found myself in as a military spouse. So we kind of get into our bubbles and forget that there's a whole different like side of Whidbey. So I think there's power in numbers,
Mhm.
you know. Um, one of my biggest one of the biggest challenges there is that while the military is a significant part of our organ or of our population, most of them aren't voters here.
Right.
Um, so that makes things a little hard, you know, when you don't because if you register to vote in an area, it kind of gives you a sense of having some skin in the game. You care about what's happening, and so trying to integrate them more will bring more activities, more recreation. You know, we hear a lot, it's all over Facebook. We don't have enough for the kids. We don't have enough for the adults. There's nothing for adults to do. There's, you know, intramurals kind of died with COVID. And, you know, I think that we just have this big, amazing community that if we can just all come together and kind of get outside these bubbles, we can have some phenomenal things on this island. And that is still one of my priorities. And I think that just being more um, open and out there and transparent and vocal from the district, we can start doing that because people do not know that they can participate in things if they don't know that they're happening.
Sure. Sure. Is that primarily a public relations problem then?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a problem. I think that it is a, you know, as we've grown, I don't think that we've necessarily engaged in the social media aspect as much as we could have. We do have a presence, but um, I think we really need to kind of take a different approach to marketing. The digital marketing age is here.
Sure.
It's been here, and we need to you know, we need to get those things out, but we also need to be communicating with, because we have a large retirement community. We can't exclude them either. So we have to find a balance of how can we most effectively communicate with everyone we represent.
Very good. Uh, Another piece of what you were talking about with Whidbey Weekly a couple of years ago was the idea of increasing revenues in the district. You increase 2% the first year, 3% in year two, 5% in years three. Is that are those achievable numbers?
I think so. Um, the thing about increasing revenue is you have to bring things that people want to pay for. Say you have to have value to the public, and I think it's absolutely that's. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but those are fairly easy numbers to accomplish.
Let me ask you this, and you know, you're new, you may not have this information yet, but approximately how much of the operating cost of the pool is covered by revenues from fees paid by the users of the pool? Is it
I
most?
have not had a chance to go through the bigger budget. I have one P&L for 1 month. So that's something that I'm still digging into. We have a special meeting on August 8th to go over the budget, and I will have more information about that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We will circle back with you at that point. Um,
Right?
so when that whole argument came about with the pool in 2018, part of the argument was, do we need to have a taxpayer supported pool? And I'm going to guess that your answer is yes, but why?
Here's the thing. So I say yes, because it is a resource that otherwise the importance of that. So I grew up on the East Coast. I had pools all around,
Right.
you know. And one thing that I've found concerning, yes, we'll go with concerning, is the amount of adults that I have met that do not know how to swim.
Yes.
It is a life skill that I find to be absolutely necessary.
Sure.
And we live on an island.
Yes.
And so it's been quite astounding to me that those things are happening. So it's not just about fun and recreation. Kids have all sorts of different interests that they want to be involved in, but I think having a safe place where life skills can be developed, such as that, where it could save your life, I think that should be taxpayer funded, and I think that's absolutely good.
Okay, fair enough. I'm looking at my timer, which I just started 4 minutes ago. I have no idea where we are time-wise in this.
Fine.
So let me just talk about this and talk about that. 5 minutes. My wife is here to
I
help.
think we started at like 5 minutes after, so I think like
Probably pretty
5 or
close.
10 minutes.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap things up then. So,
Okay.
Obviously, you're on the ballot in November. You have no opponent, so you're going to be elected. But in case people do want to know more about you and what you're doing and what you want to do with the district, what's the best way for people to reach out to you and find out more? Is it Facebook
So
page? Or...
I have a Facebook. Brit Kraner is my personal, but facebook.com/Brit Kraner is my political page. My candidacy information is all on Vote WA. And I can also be reached via email at Brit, BRIT, Kraner, KRANER @gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. And we will put all of those ways to connect with you on the website when we put up this video. So great. Thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. I know it's useful for, we get people asking all the time about these less well publicized districts. So I really appreciate you taking the time to tell us a little more what's going on over there. So
of course, I appreciate the work that you're putting into this election. Thank you so much.
You bet. All right. You take care.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you for watching our interview with Brit Kraner, who's running for Commissioner Position 1 at the North Whidbey Pool Park and Recreation District. We invite you to subscribe to our newsletter, available in 4 local editions: Camano Island, North Whidbey, Central Whidbey, and South Whidbey. The newsletter arrives in your mailbox every Monday morning with news and events from your part of Island County. Subscribe to our newsletter at voterinterest.com/subscribe. And look for more of these candidate interviews as the election season continues. Thank you and good night.